Thank you, everybody. It's Paul here with market analysis for June 10th, 2025. I'm going to start off with all of crypto right now, minus Bitcoin and Ethereum. Bitcoin itself is definitely leading the way on this next little bull run, but we are seeing the reflection of this liquidity showing up in the altcoins as well. So this chart here is an index of the total market cap of crypto minus Bitcoin and Ethereum. As you can see, we're sitting at $875 billion at the moment. And what's occurred over the last, I'd say the last day or two, Monday, we finally were able to get above an old resistance line. And this resistance line right here, so a little bit more light here. So this resistance line here, after this drop, this was a major resistance that we couldn't get above, and we created a new low. And so this marked the trend. And what we were waiting for was for this price to get back above this old resistance right here. And sure enough, we were finally able to do that yesterday, quite forcefully, in fact. It didn't take much. We bumped up against it here, but then shot right through it. No two bounces, which is very encouraging. As we can see right after that, if we zoom in a little bit, we can see right after it went up, a quick retest in a matter of 2-3 hours. And is that right? No, it's a 2-hour chart. So yeah, here about 6 hours it took to come back to that old resistance, and now is creating a new high already. So what does that mean? Let's take a look at Bitcoin here real quick. We can see a similar pattern where we had this resistance right here. We couldn't beat that. We created a new low. This here was June 5th. That low, some people were a little bit concerned because it met this low way over here, and that's from May 12th. So it was a month low that it dropped to, but it quickly recovered from that. And similarly, when it got up to that resistance, here's that resistance right here, got up to that resistance, created a quick little retrace, found good support, and blasted through that. And since then, it hasn't really come back. Let's just zoom in a little bit further. Ah, yeah, sure enough. So it went up over top of that resistance quickly within 1 hour, retouched it, and then has been rallying since. A low here, you probably likely just finding some support from this level here. I believe, while I was of the mind that altcoin season was upon us, there's still a lot of retail traders that are they're still fearful. They're not convinced that that the altcoin season is here, and as such, we're noticing more and more push into Bitcoin at the moment. Now, that doesn't mean that the altcoin season isn't here. It simply means I believe Bitcoin is going to continue leading this charge for the time being. Typically speaking, after Bitcoin makes a good run at it, we start to see altcoins have a little bit of a surge. We saw a similar effect in 2021. Bitcoin made a big run towards the beginning of the year. Let's go take a look at that. 2021. Yep. So here at the end of 2022, things came into effect here. Or at the end of 2020, rather, it came into effect where the price skyrocketed. And then since that time, since this peak here in April of 2021, it was not able to really get back above that. It tested a higher high here, but it was not able to keep that, and it declined. But during the same time, we take a look at the total market cap during that same time after here's the end of 2020. It's climbing up following Bitcoin, but we can see that after Bitcoin made its drop, altcoins actually went ahead and created a new high up in this area. And so that is something that I will likely see again, where Bitcoin will make its run, and then the altcoins will finish the job with an extra push to create a new high. Right now, we can see. Let's go back to. Yeah, you know what? We did Bitcoin up. Now let's move on to Ethereum. Ethereum is what we're waiting for when it comes to our AI coins. And as you can see, it's actually having a tough time still with that old resistance. This resistance brings us back all the way to here. This is February 2025. So after this drop here that we saw way over there, let's do this. Can I do this? Oh, no, my screen is not letting me draw on it right there. I'll have to get that set up next time. But this resistance that we saw last until the end of February, Ethereum has not been able to maintain anything beyond that. And still now, even though we've had a nice big run here towards the end of May, everybody got excited, we're still not clearly above that old resistance. So Ethereum's a little bit lagging, but again, that's not to be I'm not surprised by that. Bitcoin usually does lead things off, and so it finding that new resistance at a higher level is encouraging. And when we look at some of the other coins, they are actually creating those new highs, not outside of Ethereum, and that's encouraging. Here's XRP creating a new high, finding some support now at the 228 level. ADA also creating a new high that we haven't seen since what was that? I think that was also middle of May. Oh, end of May is where we were last at this level, right before this last little dip that we've seen over the last couple of weeks. Now, what's going on? My mouse again. Here we go. So the next level that we need to see ADA reach is to get up above this old support here. So as we can see, we were able to cleanly get above S3. That's what I have these different support lines and resistance lines as well. If we zoom out, you can see I've got resistance lines set up as well. These are all the common pivot points that we can expect as the price action rises. And right now we just cleared support 3. And so now our next target is going to be support 2, support 1, and moving onwards. Now, what I've done, after we saw this extra little jump up yesterday, what I did, to be honest, I was actually ready with a trigger finger to sell ADA over the weekend, just in case we weren't able to keep these levels here. This is 60 cents. We dropped down to 62, I think. Let's see here. What was that one? Yeah, dropped down to 62 even on ADA, and dipped down below the 5th support level there. And so I was like, "Woof, man! If we can't keep this level," so I was waiting, was watching to see whether or not it could regain support in here. Coming down this far, dipping down below, there was a chance that it would only bounce back up against that, find resistance, and continue its downward trend. Now, what we've done over the last little while is we came back up over top of this S4 level, and we hovered around that basically all weekend. And then finally on Monday, we got, here we go. Monday morning, right there, is where we finally got that leg up over top of this resistance. And then we immediately went over top of this one, which goes back to all the way back to here in June 1st. And now we are using that S3 line right there as support. So I am no longer with my trigger finger on the sell button right now. I'm waiting for the next push up to go to S2. If we make it up to S2, I will be repositioning so that I will be setting dollar cost averaging the buys from S3 to S4. But we got to reach here first. Once we touch this, I'll be taking trades pending orders for this price point here and this price point here, just in case we come back to retest them. Doge, similar price action as we can see. Oh, another thing too I wanted to show you guys. My algorithm that I use to determine the trend definitely gave us a confirmation that we're on the upswing here. This is very, very good. So this green line here is letting us know where our approximate support is for the trend. Now, that doesn't mean that it won't go below. Like here, sure enough, we had a green trend here, but then we reversed again, right? So it doesn't mean that we're in the trend, but this lets me know to be watching for the next impulse. This impulse here was beautiful. The next one will let me know I can start putting positions. Now the same applies to Doge. Doge, though, it flipped a little bit earlier than ADA did on the charts, and that was encouraging to see. We are noticing a dwindling volume here, though, so we may see a retest coming back down to maybe even test this low here. We might even just tag this S2 line as well. Either way, we do see that that volume is starting to dwindle. And so this oscillator may come back down and dip down here, which would bring the price down. It may also just dwindle and go sideways. But with Doge, I'll be watching for the next level to be grabbed. Once this level gets tagged, that's when I'll know, okay, yeah, we're finally out of this long term. Like this here is going back to the middle of May. Oh, sorry, that's the end of May. We need to see that price get up above that. Once we see it above that, then I'll be likely more bullish on Doge. Injective token, similar price pattern. We're noticing climbing highs and lows. And we were inside for a while there. We were looking at a channel that had occurred. And this was between two sets of lows. We had we call this an inner trend and an outer trend. So this long-term inner trend or outer trend, we were tempting to drop below it, and we seem to have gotten back inside that channel. This is the inner trend here, that line there, and that one there is just giving us an idea of what resistance there is in this that will be there in this situation. I can see it's almost time to readjust my my pivot points though, which is a good sign. Yeah, we really need to see this price. I want to see it jump up above this one here, which is what it was at the end of May. That's for injective. Once I see that above there, then I know, okay, we are definitely coming back. But this is positive. To see that when we had this high, we came down and found support here, created a new high, and when it retraced, it found that support again. Very positive. We call it a double bottom. And that, again, the likelihood of us continuing to climb has gone up as a result. Algorand, this one here, yeah, similar price action. We've got a little bit of a push above that. Actually, I would say that this is more akin to the Ethereum chart in the sense that it's having a difficult time jumping up above this old resistance here. Under BitTensor, BitTensor gave us a new high just earlier today. That's wonderful. A great climb here. In fact, BitTensor coming back from a low there is up 26% in the last 4 days. Very encouraging for those that are holding that one. I know I bought probably around the $500 mark, so I'm a ways yet before I'm back in profit on this one. But it's wonderful, wonderful to see. Look at how beautiful this low was. Oh my goodness, it's up 151% from April 6th. That's just gorgeous. Next, we've got Optimism. Optimism is broken through that previous resistance. It looks a little bit like this line here is providing some resistance, and that's okay. That's not too bad. We'll see what happens after this extension here. We might come back to retest this one, or possibly this little tiny resistance that we saw right there. We might come back to test that one out before we take the next leg up. But Optimism is I'm looking more optimistic. And if we remember, I was telling you about the double bottom. Well, here, this was at the end of May, or this was the beginning of May. Had a nice big rise, but it wasn't able to get back above that and came back down to find that same support. So a double bottom has formed now on Optimism. Fetch. This one's a triple bottom. Haha. So there's the first one right there, May 19th. Here's the next one. This bottom here was on May 30th, and again, June 5th. Now it's like it's happening at a higher frequency now. And so it's yeah, well, it's to me, the way that I look at this is it is following the similar patterns what we've seen in the past. The difference, I believe, is because this is an AI tool. This is a massive decentralized autonomous organization. And their work has resulted here in more of a consolidating pattern. I'm going to get rid of this line here for a second. I'm going to show you. So we have these lows here that are being shelved off at the moment. And then we have the trend itself from this high coming down, forming what we call a descending wedge. Now, descending wedges, typically, they continue to descend. But we'll see what happens. The fact that Fetch is such a large DAO, I'm thinking that what we're going to see, well, see, and this is the other thing too to take into consideration. This high here beat out this high. And this low is keeping us in the game at the moment. And it's encouraging that this low is higher. So we could just be in a long-term consolidation, not even necessarily in a down. Just because it's downward trending at the moment doesn't mean that's going to continue. I mean, nothing is for sure, anyways. But yeah, I'm encouraged by what I see because of these higher highs. I would like to see us get above. If I go back and zoom out a little bit further here to the daily chart. Yes. I would like to see us get back above this so that we can start testing some of this old resistance over here. That would be the next part. Once we're up in here, that's when I'll be switching my strategy with Fetch. It is encouraging to see that we got back above this old resistance though before these dropped. So very encouraging. On the Woo network, similarly, this has been showing a little bit more promise here since the end of April. Oh, let's go back to the 2-hour chart. Yes, here we go. So at the end of May, we've been creating, ever since the end of May, we've been creating some new highs and new lows that are on their way up, which is encouraging. Right now, sitting at 8.5 cents, Woo network that's a social trading platform. Modic or Polygon sitting at 22 cents right now, showing some promise coming up, finding some resistance though at an old support. The fact that this low came down this low is a caution because we would need to see this. It's kind of similar to Ethereum at the moment where it's having some hard time getting above this. I'm not too discouraged. I believe that we are going to be going up simply because of how Bitcoin is leading the way right now with some higher highs. But this is important to note that Polygon is more so used for people who are developing games and gaming ecosystems with their coins. And so it may be a while before we see Polygon share the same type of price action. Be cautious. Be cautious with this one. Desync, one of my favorite ones. This one here is another interesting chart. While it is definitely showing some higher highs and higher lows over the last few days, we are noticing that we are in a downward trend. So, for example, you can see here, we've got these, oh, and see, there goes my mouse. That's exactly what goes on. It just does this, goes back and forth. It just shudders like that, and I don't know why. And then it disappears after a while. I'll just have to do it without drawing lines, I guess. So this here, these highs are getting lower, and we also have lower lows. So even though we've been rallying over the last little while, we don't really have a very good indicator of, now I can't even zoom. we don't really have a good indicator of where of a trend yet. We're still technically in a downward trend right now. I would say a consolidation at the moment, but nothing confirmed. Now, again, because of the leadership, the how Ethereum, or sorry, Bitcoin has led this little rally, I believe we will see this come. It'll come along. It'll definitely get above this level, but it's going to take a bit. And again, it's just because we're waiting for that Ethereum. Ethereum being that layer one coin is gonna take some time. And now it's done. I can now draw things again. 0 by 0, a little bit of a different chart here. We can see that great big jump that occurred here at the beginning of June and has been finding support ever since. Mostly just equalizing. That was a big movement that occurred. In fact, it looks to me like it almost doubled in that one day. Let's just do a quick measurement. 63%. From the low that it had, yeah, it was 83%. So this big movement here, I call that a banker's candle. I'm not going to count this high. After that occurs, and this is typically what we see after a banker's candle, great big jump, and then it comes back and it comes back to that average curve that we saw the price action. So we can see how that price action came down here and that started to come up a little bit. Big banker's candle, and if you can draw a line literally from here up to there, and we can see how that's continued. Now, since this consolidation coming back to that average, it has been consolidating since. So big jump up, comes back to equalize, and has been consolidating, going sideways as we call that, ever since. So again, the AI coins, they're still waiting, and I believe they're waiting for Ethereum. And these are going to be the coins that were these are the coins that I'm waiting for. ARK, this one here has been falling very regularly, a little bit of jumps here and there, and that's just because of the lower volume of this market capitalization. And so it doesn't take very much money to move this chart, and so that's why it looks a little bit jittery. But if we take a look at the daily chart, we can see a better idea of the curve. And as you can see, it just keeps dropping. I don't know if this project has died or if everything's okay and it's just waiting. I'll definitely look into that one. We might take it off the watch list if it's not producing anything here over the next little while. PAL creating, oh yeah, we had this little bit of a trend and we dipped down underneath it. Again, waiting for Ethereum. I'm not concerned about it too much, even though this low is a lower low. It definitely is not lower than this. And this high here that got created, it really only was testing this support or this resistance line. We already came up to it here, came back down, retested this trend line, and then we did it again, but it wasn't able to meet it. And so it's been falling since then, creating a low here. Now this low is not lower than from the base of the impulse. So technically, even though we broke down past this trend line, that doesn't mean that we broke the trend. It means we're consolidating. We haven't created a lower low than here, and we haven't created a higher high than this. Again, I know this went higher, but it didn't stay there. So it didn't create another new one. So that tells us that that trend was not confirmed yet. But since that time, it's just a consolidation. So what we do is that we look at how this price action came up and found support right there. Yeah, and so yeah, we dipped below, but then we came right back into it again. So give it some more time. World creating some higher highs. This low here has definitely even flipped the algorithm. We had the green line showing us, hey, look, upward trend. But this test here came down and we've now flipped the algorithm. The algorithm thinks that this might just be a downward trend. And mathematically, it is, but it could just be a test. Again, we'll be waiting to see what happens in the next couple of days. If we aren't able to maintain this, it might come back down and retest this low here, right there. That's if we aren't able to maintain another press upwards. But at the same time, waiting for Ethereum. Neural AI, this one here is actually downward trending over the last little while, but it's not creating a lower low than what we had over here. So this high here is encouraging. We're just finding where is that next support level? What support is necessary for us to come up and challenge some of these resistance lines from back here? That's what we're waiting for there. Beam into the gaming world now. We can see this consolidation box that I drew a while ago. That's been continuing. So I'll just extend that out a little bit. But we can also see how the trend, the algorithm has been switching this trend back and forth, but it's getting tighter and tighter and tighter all the time. I'm going to zoom in here. And you can see this long-term bearish trend flipped right here because this price came up. And then it flipped again here because the price came down. But then ever since then, it's just been getting tighter and tighter of a trend. So that's what we call consolidation. We would need to see a breakout out of this purple box for us to know what the price is going to do next. Moving on to FAR. This one here, I'm just going to keep on buying it. I'm amazed. Now it's down to 7. What is that? That's 1/100th. That's 1/1000th. This is 7 1,000ths. Oh no, sorry, 7 10,000ths of a cent right now, down from when I bought in June. Yep, I bought in June, right in here. So I am down so far on this one. I'm not worried though. Again, this is a gaming coin. It's going to take a while for it to come up, but I've lost 98% of my money doing that one. That one there is definitely discouraging to look at. It's like, oh, why did I buy it then? Why didn't I buy it down here? Well, that's okay. I'll just dollar cost average. I definitely be adding some to this. I added a little bit more here as well. So I've lost even from the amount that I put in February, another 70%. But that's the kind of this here is the kind of movement that you can expect to see happen once AI is being applied to these games. And this AI revolution that we're seeing right now is definitely going to be it's going to be screaming. The entire tech world is going to be completely disrupted. And when this takes off, even if we just come back to the all-time high, that's a 30,000% increase. 30,000%. That's 300x from where we are now to the all-time high. That's a fun little experiment. I'm not going to throw all my money in there, obviously, but that is definitely a fun little experiment. Superverse showing some great promise, still maintaining its levels from all the way back here. This is November of 2023. It has not gone below that level at all, no matter what. Even though we came back down, we created this high here, we came back down, we've been creating, excuse me, we've been really hugging the support line very well. Looks to me like we've created this high here, which is awesome. Coming down to this low, seeing that algorithm flip the trend, it's not too discouraging considering it's really just retesting this old support line here, or this old resistance line. Using that as support, I believe we'll continue to see some climbing. Superverse is a larger conglomerate of video game developers and their ecosystem, where even they can trade in-game currencies between each other. It's quite remarkable what they're able to do. And I think that we're going to see, especially ecosystems like Superverse and Beam are going to be leading the gaming industry. And so, yeah, that's what I think. So let's move on to Cpool. Clearpool is still really just consolidating. We can see that we did create a new high here, but it wasn't able to maintain that. Coming back down to find support back over at the 10-cent level tells me that really we've technically just been consolidating ever since this low here. Yes, we did eke above this high. but we weren't able to maintain it. And so we're back down, zigzagging our way across that line. NPC, non-playable coin, has been giving some hope to the memers here in the last month or so. Right now, finding a new low right here. We might see this drop down a little bit more. I know meme coins, they're not backed by anything other than belief, which technically neither is any of the fiat currencies. Just backed by belief. But with the meme coins, we are likely to see a resurgence of them this year simply because of how manic their communities are. It's incredible. Both NPC and SPX are they're doing so well. And in fact, now we can see SPX is above $150. I know that I bought around $1 back in this area here. Maybe it was No, it was in October. Yeah, it was in October that I bought. Lost a little bit, but now it is up. So this meme in particular is garnering a lot of attention simply because of the known corruption within the monetary system. And this particular community is rabidly passionate to take over the stock market. And so the fact that they have that belief, the fact that they have that drive, and it's a mission for them. It's like a mission for them. You should see them how they promote their meme coin. But they're doing well. They're doing very, very well right now. In fact, outperforming NPC in that they are very close to their all-time high. Really just needing to go another 15 to 18%, and they'll meet up that with that all-time high. I would expect, after having a little bit of resistance right here, this is at the $1.22 level. I would expect us to see another retest of that before heading up to that all-time high. But I mean, that's just a technical analysis. The market is always right. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. It is 11:40. I'm gonna close things off, and everybody have a good day.